All right, Ian, what did I warn everyone about when it came to loot boxes? What did I say? Well, I warned the video game industry.
They'd be the downfall of civilization.
I warned you all out there, you AAA developers. I said that you got to police yourselves, you got to rein in your greed a little bit, or what happens is Uncle Sam's going to do it for you. They're going to do it for you. And in Europe, they're already starting to look into loot boxes and microtransactions, and now it's starting to happen in the U.S. It's starting to happen. So a U.S. senator, Ian, is introduced a bill to ban loot boxes and pay-to-win microtransactions. Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, today announced a bill that would ban loot boxes and pay-to-win microtransactions in, quote, games played by minors, a broad label that the senator says will include both games designed for kids under 18 and games whose developers normally allow minor players to engage in microtransactions. So that's basically every game. Like that's a majority of games, when it comes down to it. The bill is going to be called the Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act. It's going to come to the U.S. Senate soon. He brought up the game Candy Crush as an egregious example. This is from Kotaku's article from Jason Schreier. Egregious example of pay-to-win microtransactions thanks to its $150 luscious bundle that comes with a whole bunch of goodies. The bill would also likely apply to a host of online games that feature loot boxes and other ways in which players can spend money for real benefits. Ian, what do you think about this move? Are you surprised?
No, I'm not, and I think it's a fairly prudent move. Not does it just make sense for from a essentially keeping kids from gambling standpoint. It's only good for people who are playing games too. Well, for the most part. There have been certain instances where microtransactions have been used well, and it's not to say that they can't be. But especially for games that children are playing, and it seems to make an exception for that under 18. So I'm assuming with this bill, a loophole would be to have your game mature rated or above, and perhaps you could get that stuff back in there.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I think it would just be better for everyone if these things were not available to children. It would make parents' lives easier. I know we say watch your kids, and watch your kids, but this would drastically cut down on the amount of mistaken $100 and $150 purchases as well. So I don't think this is a particularly bad idea.
Of course, the ESA had their response to Entertainment Software Association, who helps do the maybe soon-to-be defunct E3. The video game industry lobbyist group sent over a statement shortly after the bill was introduced. Numerous countries, including Ireland, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, determined that loot boxes do not constitute gambling. We look forward to sharing with the Center the tools and information the industry already provides that keeps the control of in-game spending in parents' hands. Parents already have the ability to limit or prohibit in-game purchases with easy-to-use parental controls. Are they always aware of those controls?
No.
Or how to function them? Kids might know how to undo those controls, too.
Yeah. I don't know. Loot boxes are just a garbage mechanic. In any way that they go away would be fine.
Here's the thing, though, Ian. With games like Apex Legends that will only exist if there's some sort of
like I said. Well, that's what I was kind of saying earlier.
Yeah,
there are instances where it makes sense. Where do you make the cutoff? I don't think under 18 is appropriate. I think because like you said, some games need it. So where do you?
Well, they don't need it, but that's the way. I mean, I'm sure they probably could have released Apex Legends, as a paid game, maybe $10, maybe 15, but It wouldn't have been as popular that quickly versus free.
Right, and they're also referring to pay to win. Something like Fortnite is not pay to win, so I don't think that would be affected either.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's right. From what I know, Apex Legends isn't pay to win
either.
No,
It's not. It's from what I understand, it's all cosmetic as well.
But there's still an element of luck involved in what you get.
Yes.
So that's still kind of loot boxy.
Yes.
It's still gambling. So
if you can pay money for it and then get something in return that's random, I have an issue with it. However, I have less of an issue with it if it's strictly cosmetic.
Sure, but if you still want to get that limited, I don't know, Overwatch outfit or something,
sure. And it's
still gambling.
Yeah, and that happens every
like you said in the past,
every event.
They used to do certain events.
They still do.
You got to go for the loot boxes this weekend only. It's like, well, then you're forcing people to spend money that weekend.
Right.
That's egregious. You're over the line at that point. Over the line.
Mark it a 0.
Oh man. So anyway, what was I supposed to say? You know what the bad part about this is? Or not the bad part, but you know what the natural extension of this is in our political world? I'm surprised there's no ESA not having a lobbying group in Washington. This is what happens though. This is what
They don't.
they will after this. They probably lobbied in Europe. They're going to lobby here. And that's a good old exchange of American dollars behind the scenes to get bills passed. We were talking before about how big the tax prep lobbying group is.
Oh yeah.
They just they couldn't bipartisan strike down, handshake across the aisle to strike down bills that make it simpler for us to pay our taxes without having to buy software or hire a tax person. Strike down bills to have what we owe just mailed to us by the IRS each year, which happens in other countries. They say this is what you owe because we know what your income was. We can't get that done here because there's a lobbying group for like Quicken and for like all the tax prep software people, because that's how their business runs, by keeping it the tax code obscure and draconian. So the whole point is that
an entire industry would fall
if something like that we don't think about. It's like, yeah, why do I have to spend $500 to do my taxes, which is less than what I spent this year, by the way, to get my taxes done? Why do I have to do that? Why is it complex? Because people want it to be complex, and they have relationship with people in Washington to make sure it remains complex. This isn't conspiracy theory stuff. There's the lobbying groups live in Washington down the road. They all live and work in buildings right in Washington, D.C. Congressmen go from working in Congress or senators to becoming lobbyists because they built up relationships already working in Washington over years and years. Sorry, this is now a different podcast.
Yep.
But the whole point is that this is slimy. Loot boxes can be slimy, but I will be shocked if there isn't pushback on this with lobbying within a few years. Like, this will come back around in another way. Oh, well, now we have exceptions to certain companies because they do it differently, or slap a shinier label on the front of their whatever.